As efforts to secure a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to send delegations to Egypt and Qatar to push forward the negotiations. Negotiators have been trying to secure the release of Israeli hostages as part of a possible Gaza ceasefire deal. On Friday, Netanyahu's office said Netanyahu spoke with the heads of Israeli intelligence agencies Shin Bet and Mossad and approved that delegations on their behalf go to Doha and Cairo in the coming days. US President Joe Biden says he will go to Baltimore next week following Key Bridge collapse earlier this week. Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early on Tuesday after a cargo ship that had lost power hit the bridge in Baltimore Harbor in Maryland. Meanwhile, the US government has approved an emergency fund of $60 million for the bridge's reconstruction. A major cleanup effort is underway in the US city of Baltimore, where crews are beginning to clear up the wreckage left by a collapsed bridge earlier this week. A cargo ship collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday. It remains in the middle of the Patapsco River, blocking shipping traffic. Officials say they are working full speed to reopen the vital shipping channel. DD India's Sally Patterson has more.
The governor of the US state of Maryland, Prez Murmu, says workers at the scene have an incredibly complex job on their hands. They're tasked with cleaning up to 4,000 tons of debris left behind after Tuesday's bridge collapse in Baltimore. Authorities believe the bodies of 4 of the victims, who are presumed dead after the collision, could be buried underneath the rubble. Governor Moore says recovering them is a top priority to bring closure, he says, to their families. His state has been awarded an initial $60 million in emergency funds by the US government to clear the vital waterway and begin rebuilding the bridge.
To know that out there you have to navigate high winds and electric wires, to go out there and to see it up close, you realize just how daunting a task this is. You realize how difficult the work is ahead of us. With a salvage operation this complex, and frankly, with a salvage operation this unprecedented, you need to plan for every single moment, and every time you take action to move a piece of wreckage, you understand that that requires you to reassess the situation.
US President Joe Biden has promised to pay for the reconstruction, stressing the importance of the Port of Baltimore to the economy. More cars and trucks go through that port each year than any other in the country, and last year it transported $80 billion worth of goods. There are concerns that there could be a spike in prices, at least temporarily, while supply chains are disrupted. And more locally, at least 8,000 workers on the docks have jobs that are directly impacted by the collapse. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating what caused the incident. The agency is interviewing the crew members from the ship, which was headed to Sri Lanka. It's also revealed the cargo ship was carrying 56 containers of hazardous materials, some of which spilled during the crash. The agency's chair called the investigation a massive undertaking, which could take up to 2 years to complete. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
Russia has vetoed the renewal of the UN panel of experts who monitor North Korea's compliance with international sanctions. The Kremlin says its veto is in line with its interests. The Russian move comes amid accusations from the United States, South Korea and other countries that Moscow purchases weapons from Pyongyang to use in its war in Ukraine. Dasha Chernyshyova has more from Moscow.
Russia vetoed the UN Security Council resolution that sought to extend the monitoring of UN sanctions against North Korea over its nuclear program. Moscow says its veto comes as old approaches to solving the problem on the Korean Peninsula have yielded no results and will not improve the security situation in the region. Russian Foreign Ministry's spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in the absence of mechanisms that revise the UN Security Council's sanctions and ease them, they only hinder confidence building and political dialogue. Zakharova pointed out that the group of experts of the UN Security Council's 1718 committee has in her words, lost all the standards of objectivity and impartiality. She said that's why Moscow insists on establishing specific conditions for sanctions in order to review them and to make further decisions. Moscow's decision has been criticized by the Western countries that claim that Moscow is seeking to avoid scrutiny and allegedly violates those sanctions by buying weapons from Pyongyang. Moscow dismisses those accusations. The vote will have no impact on the actual sanctions against North Korea, which will remain in force. Dasha Chirnshova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
A Moscow district court ruled on Friday that the 9th suspect in the March 22nd concert hall attack should be held in custody until May 22nd pending trial. Lutfuloy Nazrimad, a native of Tajikistan, had been charged under Russia's terrorist act in which more than 140 people were killed in the attack. Separately, Russia's investigative committee said that the suspects had stated that their actions had been coordinated by voice messages from a man via the Telegram messenger. It said it was investigating potential involvement of representatives of the Ukraine Special Services in the organization and financing of the attack. Ukraine has received a $1.5 billion tranche of funding under a World Bank program, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said on Friday, helping it pay for its budget and social spending as it defends itself against the Russian invasion. Ukraine is reliant on financial aid from its Western partners, but foreign financing dwindled in the first 2 months of this year, and a US aid package has been blocked by Republicans in Congress for months.
Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion, Ukraine has largely depended on foreign support to cover its budget needs. Kiev uses almost all of its domestic revenues, such as taxes and customs duties, to finance its military as it continues to defend itself against Russia's invasion. A recent drop in foreign funding due to delays in aid from the US and the EU caused uncertainty at the beginning of this year, where Ukraine received only $400 million from Japan in January and $800 million of financial aid from Japan, Norway, and Spain in February. Now that Ukraine has received an additional $1.5 billion from the World Bank program, and also recently the EU approving the disbursement of $4.5 billion, the outlook seems more positive, but these recent delays have raised uncomfortable questions on how Ukraine will be able to finance its expenditures if support were to stop. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday he spoke to U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson on the phone, reiterating how vital it was to pass the $60 billion military aid package for Kiev, which has remained stuck in the U.S. Congress for months. He said Russian strikes on Ukrainian cities were escalating and that they can only be stopped by the physical force of defense. Megumi Lim in Kiev reporting for DD India.
Ukraine's Air Force downed 2 Russian missiles in the southern port of city of Odessa on Friday afternoon. Debris from the missiles hit civilian infrastructure, injuring 5 people. Ukraine's Southern Military Command denounced Moscow's forces for insidiously directing missile strikes on industrial areas of Odessa. The Ukrainian military said its Air Force has destroyed 58 Russia-launched attack drones overnight from a total of 60, along with 26 of 39 missiles of various types. Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said energy facilities in total of 6 regions had been damaged. The largest private power firm, DTEK, it said its 3 thermal power plants had come under attack on Friday and equipment was severely damaged. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday declared his income for 2022 rose to $12.42 million, and which is about $306,000 from $3.7 million the previous year, with an increase attributable to improved rent collection and sale of some government bonds. A statement on the president's website said most of the income of the president and his family came from his salary, bank interest and rent payable from his properties. In previous declarations, Zelensky reported a family income of $3.7 million, and in 2021, before the outbreak of the war in 2022, an income of $10.8 million. The steep decline in 2022 was attributed to less rental income. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pressed on with changes to officials close to him on Friday, dismissing 2 deputy heads of his office and appointing a former top security official ambassador to neighboring Moldova. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said he had appointed Oleksiy Danilov, former head of Ukraine's Security and Defense Council, as ambassador to Moldova, saying Danilov had wanted a diplomatic appointment.
I have approved his candidacy as the new ambassador of our state to Republic of Moldova. He discussed with me his vision for his future for Ukraine. Moldova is an extremely important state for us, both from the point of view of security challenges in the region and of bilateral cooperation.
The Millennium Seed Bank is celebrating a major milestone after banking more than 40,000 different plant species in an effort to preserve rare, threatened and important wild plants. Dubbed the Noah's Ark for plants, the MSB holds the Guinness World Record for the largest seed bank facility on earth. Let's listen in.
Under this typical British landscape lies a very international one. Seeds from more than 100 countries are stored at the Millennium Seed Bank. As flooding, drought and wildfires sweep the world with increasing frequency, the project aims to protect the plants facing destruction.
Seed banks are the way to say, right, well, we need to fix that problem in situ. Let's get the seed off-piste, if you like. We get them back in the seed bank so we can look after them, keep them in good quality, so that when we do have this climate modification or climate strategies to help prevent that raising of temperature on the East African mountains, as an example, we're ready to go. We're ready with material that can be used to put things back in the wild.
Seeds are collected from the wild and sent to the bank for processing. After being cleaned and dried, they make their way into a specially designed underground facility. 2 in 5 of the world's plant species are at risk of extinction. To protect them, their seeds are kept inside this vault, which is resistant to flooding, explosions, and radiation. 2.4 billion individual seeds are stored here. The project is the result of extensive networks with scientists around the world.
We don't have an active partnership with India at the moment, but at a recent workshop in Bhutan back in October of last year, we were lucky enough to have a botanist from the Botanical Survey of India come to offer his expertise. He was very excited about setting up a seed banking collaboration with other. India has vast botanical expertise, but they don't have a big network of seed banks, so we're very excited to work with them about helping them to develop, increase their seed conservation capacity.
The seed bank has been described as an insurance policy against extinction. In the event of disaster, these backups will provide the key to restoring natural habitats. Julia Chapman in West Sussex, England, reporting for DD India.
All right, still to come on DD India News Hour. Louis Gossett Jr., the first black man to win an Academy Award as Best Supporting Actor, passes away at 87. Nigeria is set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of the notorious militant group Boko Haram. Tropical cyclone Gamane, which crossed the northeast of Madagascar, displaces over 20,000 people. Stay with us. We'll tell you the details.
To understand what are the opportunities and challenges that come with renewable energy.
In terms of the radiation is better. When you compare to other districts in Gujarat, then we found a better elevation for WTG generation.
Solar panels and wind turbines, they kind of have a mind of their own. So you can increase generation to meet demand. You can also lower demand to kind of meet supply somewhere in the middle.
It uses a renewable resource, the sun, to generate power, so it's quite good. We do have the option of plugging the cold room to the power grid.
Typically, a balcony system consists of 1 or 2 solar modules. These modules contain crystals that convert sunlight into direct current, or DC. This inverter then turns the DC into AC, which is the type of electrical current used in households.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Former US President Donald Trump on Friday asked a Georgia appeals court to disqualify the district attorney prosecuting him for trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat in the state. The legal filing from the Republican presidential candidate and 8 co-defendants asked the appeals court to reverse a judge's ruling this month that allowed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to continue prosecuting case against the former president. The appeal presented another opportunity for former US President to delay or derail one of the 4 criminal cases he faces. The appeals court has 45 days to decide whether to take up the issue. Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee gave Trump and other defendants permission to immediately appeal his ruling, but said he would continue moving the case toward trial during the appeal. If the court accepts the case, Trump could seek to pause the proceedings while the appeal plays out. A trial date has not yet been set. Migrants reenacted the Way of the Cross on the Mexican side of the border with Texas. US court to keep a controversial anti-migration state law on hold. The law would make it a state crime to illegally enter or re-enter Texas from a foreign country, with prison sentences of up to 20 years for those who refuse to comply. The challenge to the Texas law is one in a series of legal disputes between Republican state officials and the Biden administration over the state's ability to police the border. There's concern over a rise in dengue across North and South America this year. The number of cases already in 2024 suggests it's likely to be the worst ever year, with places such as Puerto Rico scrambling to contain the mosquito-borne illness. Caroline Malone reports.
There have been 3.5 million cases of dengue so far only this year across the Americas. That's 3 times as many cases as there were in the first 3 months of 2023. It's setting a worrying trend for the illness that is spread by infected mosquitoes, as it can make people very sick with headaches, vomiting and severe joint pain, and it is potentially deadly. Well, one of the regions that's scrambling to contain an outbreak is the US territory of Puerto Rico, which has declared an epidemic as hospitalizations from the illness surge. Well, dengue is less common on the US mainland, but there have been cases in Florida, Texas and California states in recent years. Well, the majority of cases in the region are in Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, Peru and Colombia. Scientists think that changing weather from climate change is having an impact on this year's spread. Plus, there's also El Nino, which is creating warmer temperatures and rising sea levels. Well, dengue comes from the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It's commonly found in warmer, more humid parts of the world, particularly if there's bad sanitation and water gathering where mosquitoes can breed rapidly. Last year, there were 4.5 million cases across the Americas and 2,400 reported deaths. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
In Northern Ireland, the leader of Democratic Unionist Party, Jeffrey Donaldson, has resigned from the party after being charged with alleged sexual offences. The 61-year-old Donaldson is one of the British region's best-known politicians and is Northern Ireland's longest-serving lawmaker in the British Parliament. He was first elected in 1997. DUP lawmaker Gavin Robinson, who was appointed interim party leader, said Donaldson's charges is a devastating revelation and has caused tremendous shock within the party.
And has caused tremendous shock. But we are a party and individuals that believe in justice. We have faith in our criminal justice system. And so in the coming days and months, I think it is important that none of us say anything or act in any way that would seek to prejudice what is now an ongoing criminal investigation.
Senegal's opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye won the presidential election on Friday according to Senegal's Constitutional Council, making him the nation's 5th president. The Supreme Court approved the provisional results, which were made public on Wednesday and were based on tallying votes from all polling places. He is expected to be sworn in to replace outgoing President Macky Sall on April 2nd. Nigeria is set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of the notorious militant group Boko Haram. It follows the lack of evidence tying them to any crimes committed by the extremist group. DD India's correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports. While Nigeria, the country, is all set to release 300 suspects who were suspected to be of the extremist group, the militant group which is Boko Haram. Our correspondent reports. Have a look.
At least 313 people have been on trial in northern Nigeria over suspicions of being members of the militant group Boko Haram. After a series of court proceedings, the judge sitting on the case has ordered the government to release them because the prosecutors could not provide evidence that the suspect had committed any crime. It is, however, not clear how long the suspects have been in custody or where they were being kept. But a government official says steps are underway to release them. Human rights groups have expressed concern over Nigerian authorities holding suspects for long periods without trial. In 2010, some Boko Haram suspects were detained and only went on trial 8 years later because of lack of enough evidence against them. The militant group Boko Haram has been active for more than 15 years, spreading violence and kidnapping people in many parts of northern Nigeria. In 2009, the group launched an insurgency which sought to overthrow the government. It has also been involved in the kidnapping of schoolgirls, most of whom have still not been found. Nabil Ahmed Rufai in Accra, Ghana, reporting for DD India.
And the United States will take steps to impose new visa restrictions on multiple Hong Kong officials on Friday who are responsible for intensifying crackdown on rights and freedoms in the Chinese-ruled territory. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken highlighted that in the past year, China continued to take actions against Hong Kong's promised high degree of autonomy, democratic institutions and rights and freedoms, including with the recent enactment of a new national security law known as Article 23. A tropical cyclone that swept across the island of Madagascar this week has killed at least 18 people and displaced thousands more. The country's disaster management office says the cyclone was predicted to bypass the Indian Ocean island, but it changed course, leaving hundreds of homes destroyed. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
Authorities say Cyclone Gaman has displaced more than 20,000 people, with 3 others still unaccounted for. They say the cyclone was advancing with wind speeds of around 150 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching 210 kilometers per hour. Aerial footage shows water-filled settlements with residents attempting to rescue those trapped in flooded homes. Humanitarian partners are working with authorities to scale up response, but assessing the full scope of the destruction has proven challenging. Many villages in the region remain cut off from the rest of the country, hampering access for rescue teams. The cyclone season in the southwestern Indian Ocean typically extends from November to April, generating about a dozen storms every year. For this reason, Madagascar, situated off the southeastern African coast, consistently endures the brunt of such severe weather events. A year ago, Tropical Cyclone Freddy wreaked havoc across the nation and its neighbors Mozambique and Malawi, resulting in the tragic loss of over 500 lives. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Affected by El Nino, Suriname, a country on the northeastern coast of South America, experiences its worst drought in 25 years. With no rain straight for 8 months, has led to widespread reductions in crop yields. The lingering drought has devastated local agriculture, reducing crop yields by more than 25%. The local weather authorities has forecast a new rainy season in April. It's expected to relieve the drought and ease the concerns about diminished crop yields. Motorists who were crossing the Vasco da Gama Bridge in Lisbon on Thursday afternoon witnessed an unusual weather phenomenon. Experts call it a tornado or water spout swirling over the region of Lisbon. Tornadoes are not common in Europe but do occur occasionally in the northwest and south of the continent. A state of emergency has been declared in Canada's Niagara region ahead of a rare total solar eclipse on 8th of April. The emergency was declared out of an abundance of caution to prepare for a potential influx of people in the region. A press statement from the region said, declaring a state of emergency will strengthen the tools and region has at its disposal to safeguard the health and safety of residents and visitors. Adding, it will protect the critical infrastructure in any scenario that might arise. Niagara Falls, situated along the Canadian-US border, is in the path of the eclipse, making it one of the best places to experience the phenomenon. Canadian authorities are preparing for over 1 million tourist arrivals. They are modifying some of its programs and services and closing some facilities to keep traffic off the roads on April 8th. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Fans laid flowers at the Hollywood Walk of Fame star of Oscar-winning actor Louis Gossett Jr., who passed away at 87. Gossett's long and distinguished career began in 1950s. He won Emmys in 1977 for TV serial Roots, which depicted the brutality of slavery. Pope Francis cancelled at the last minute his attendance at a Good Friday procession at Rome to preserve his health ahead of more Easter week engagements. Good Friday leads on Sunday to Easter, the most important and joyous date in the Church's liturgical calendar. Bolivian, Argentine and Peruvian artists spent part of Good Friday carving large religious images depicting the way of cross stations out of sand and in dunes in western Bolivia. The festival is an annual tradition that has been running for over 17 years, drawing large numbers to marvel at the sand creations. Still to come on DD India News Hour. We tell you in detail how elections in India are celebrated. Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur has launched Startup Clusters 3, 4 and 5 at New Delhi. Stay tuned for more details. The Indian Army carries out a Rising Sun BrahMos missile strike over Andaman and Nicobar Islands. We tell you the details.
Why is ISIS surging again, and what are its implications? What are the threats that it poses to international security and to India?
ISIS has been a very decentralized organization since the beginning, and that is what has given them benefit and has led them in this successful manner.
What India has done up till now is to, strike on the causes. So de-radicalization has been our prime focus to deal with the ISIS
rather than
issues.
a purely military response.
Yeah.
Is Indian judiciary really being undermined? Is there a threat to the judicial process?
Such attempts are being made to scandalize the institution, to tarnish the image of our judges through social media and the print media.
We should ignore such tactics, underhanded tactics. At its own peril, they come with the consequences.
If something is said about the judiciary, positive manner, and the criticism is still there, it is welcome. It is a welcome move.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu approves a new round of Gaza ceasefire talks to secure the release of Israeli hostages. Talks to take place in Doha and Cairo. Massive crane put in place to clear Baltimore bridge debris as crews assess damage. US President Joe Biden says he will go to Baltimore next week. Indian Navy successfully rescued hijacked Iranian vessel with 23-member Pakistani crew in Arabian Sea. Operation lasted over 12 hours. India's President Murmu to present Bharat Ratna Awards at Rashtrapati Bhavan today, honouring individuals who have made outstanding contributions to various fields, embodying excellence and service to the nation. And in sports, Venkatesh Iyer's 50 and Sunil Narayan's power play heroics seal KKR's victory over RCB by 7 wickets on Friday. Lucknow Super Giants will take on Punjab Kings today. India's President Draupadi Murmu will present the highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, at Rashtrapati Bhavan today. Former Prime Ministers Chaudhry Charan Singh and PV Narasimha Rao, former Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur and eminent scientist MS Swaminathan will be given Bharat Ratna posthumously. Former Deputy Prime Minister and veteran BJP leader LK Advani will also be given top civilian award of the country. In yet another heroic show of valor, the Indian Navy freed at least 23 Pakistani nationals from the grasp of Somali pirates after a 12-hour operation in the Arabian Sea. The rescue happened in the early hours of March 29 when the pirate-held hijacked vessel FVA Al-Kamba was intercepted by the Indian Navy cruiser INS Sumedha. With quick thinking, the guided missile frigate INS Trishul quickly joined INS Sumedha to support the mission. Indian naval troops used their strategic planning and strategic coordination to initiate negotiations with the pirates, compelling them to surrender without bloodshed. India's Minister of External Affairs Subramanyam Jaishankar held talks with his Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba in New Delhi on Friday. Their discussions focused on the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict and its wider ramifications. They also exchanged views on global and regional issues. Minister Jaishankar reiterated India's commitment to strengthen the overall relationship, including bilateral cooperation.
I'm very glad that despite some of our bilateral mechanisms have also met, I think this has created a certain momentum in our bilateral relationship. Today, after this discussion in the afternoon, we look forward also to the meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission.
Well, let's get you the latest on what's happening in India in the run-up to the world's largest democratic election. Elections in India have been festive occasions, almost like carnivals. Citizens choose leaders for their local bodies, state legislatures and of course their nation, India. Here's a report on the scale and vastness of elections in India.
These are not moments of jubilation for a marriage or a family occasion. Neither it's the fervor of Diwali, the celebration of light, or Holi, the festival of colors. These are celebrations India witnesses round the year, the celebrations during the festival of elections. These happen in different pockets of India at different times of a year, and it happens almost every year. The objective of these festivities celebrated by citizens of India is to choose leaders and representatives who would run their municipalities, states, and also their nation, India. The carnival of the world's largest democracy is set to reach its peak in the next few weeks across all pockets of the country as India prepares for the general elections. It's a carnival in every sense of the word, in terms of spectacle of colors, hurly-burly, noise and exuberance. It's a festival of people's participation to run a country that has set benchmarks hard to match anywhere else in the world. The festival is observed by all Indian adults who are 18 years and above. The organizer of the major elections across the country is the Election Commission of India, or the ECI. The Election Commission is an autonomous body set up under the provisions of the Indian Constitution. It's responsible for administering the national and state election processes in the country. The body conducts and supervises elections to the Indian Parliament, comprising the Lok Sabha, the lower house, and the Rajya Sabha, the upper house. It is also responsible for the elections to the legislative assemblies and legislative councils of the 28 Indian states and the offices of the President and Vice President of India. Elections in 3 union territories, including India's capital New Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir, is also conducted by the Election Commission. In the elections to the Lok Sabha, citizens of India vote directly to elect the representatives in the Parliament's lower house. These elected members eventually decide on the country's Prime Minister, usually the leader of the party or the coalition with maximum representation in the House. The elections to the state assemblies decide on the heads of the state governments, known as the chief ministers. This year too, the ECI is slated to conduct elections in 6 Indian states, but the mother of all polls, the general elections, is being organized by the ECI, its first major assignment this year. The election authority is all geared up for the biggest task. This is the exercise it undertakes once every 5 years. It now faces the Herculean task of conducting elections to the 543 seats of the Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament, which would involve huge logistic, security and organizational engagement. The winners of these seats will eventually decide the next national government and the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy, India.
And ahead of the upcoming general elections, Congress has released 9th candidate list in their Central Election Committee meeting on Friday. The 5 candidates list is for 3 seats in southern state of Karnataka and 2 seats in northern state of Rajasthan. India's Election Commission has issued a notification banning the conduct, publication or publicizing of exit polls between April 19 till June 1st, when votes will be cast for Lok Sabha and Assembly elections to be held in 4 states, including northeastern states of Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, eastern state of Odisha and southern state of Andhra Pradesh, as well as by-elections to be held in different states. Well, DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre joins us for more updates. Akshay, the Election Commission of India has issued a notification apparently banning the conduct, publication or publicizing of exit polls between April 19 till June 1st. This decision by the ECI, how does it make elections more transparent and fair?
Well, the process of exit poll is a quite followed process around the world in democracies where elections take place, where people go around asking the voters after they have exercised their rights that what party they have voted for and get their opinion about, and then they form an opinion about what party may be getting a majority number of seats, what party may be winning in a particular seat, and which party may be losing, which party may be getting the most number of seats, and so on. So this process has been banned according to a notification that has been issued by the Election Commission of India. Now there is a rule that when the polls are being conducted, no exit poll should be conducted and publicized and circulated among the masses, because the poll process that is going to take place in India will start from 19th of April and will continue till 1st of June, and any such exit poll that have earlier been conducted during poll exercises tend to form an opinion about which party may be winning, and it may go on to form an opinion and lead the public perception about which party may be winning and sway the public opinion, and that exactly is the reason why it may be considered harmful for a transparent and fair election process for the exit polls to be coming out ahead of the polling dates or during the polling days when the polls are being conducted, and that exactly is the reason why the publication or publicizing of any kind of exit poll has been banned from the first day of voting that is going to take place on 19th of April until the last day of voting of general elections 2024 in India, that will be 1st of June. So that exactly is the reason why this notification has been issued, to ensure that there is no such exercise to sway public opinion as far as the polling process is concerned.
And Akshay, in India, election is not just an electoral process, it's a festival. So take us through the atmosphere of how the country is gearing up for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections.
Well, the political parties have already started their campaigns. In fact, they had started their campaigns much in advance as far as the campaigning is concerned, electioneering is concerned, and now the political parties are also trying to form up equations, trying to form alliances as far as different states are concerned. The political parties have started to come up with manifestos. The chief opposition party in India is expected to come up with their manifesto in the first week of April. The Bharatiya Janata Party, which is in the government right now, is taking public opinion and it's taking public advice on what should be part of the public manifesto, what is the mood of the public. So there are different kind of exercises that are being conducted by the political parties. There are different campaigns that are going on while the parties that are in power, both for the general elections as well as in the state elections that are going to take place, they are trying to come up with their report cards on what they have done in the past 5 years, whereas the opposition parties are trying to raise issues of the elections, of the issues that they think that they feel that have not been worked upon enough by the incumbent government. So it seems that the election fever has already gripped the entire country. We are not quite far away from the election. It's just a matter of 3 to 4 weeks now that the election and voting will start, and we will witness an intense competition between the political parties across the country.
You said it right, Akshay. Election fervor has certainly gripped the entire country. And now, if I talk about the bigger picture, Akshay, can you just tell us what are the states to look out for and what are the important constituencies to look out for when it comes to the upcoming Lok Sabha elections?
Well, if we talk about the important states in terms of sheer number of seats that are there, then obviously Uttar Pradesh being one of the largest state, it has about 80 seats. Then there are larger states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, there is Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. So all of these states are important for the political parties, but it would be unfair for the constituencies to in fact rank them as far as the importance are concerned, because a seat that is a Lok Sabha constituency, a General Assembly, election constituency that is in Jammu Kashmir is as equally important as one in Kerala, or one that is in the northeastern part of the country is as equal as it is in the heart of the national capital, New Delhi. So that is how the political parties are gauging it.
Definitely, the election fervor is certainly gripping the country as people all over the nation is excited for the upcoming Lok Sabha polls. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Akshay Dongre, for your analysis. Scrutiny for the nomination papers for the first phase of 4 Lok Sabha seats of Gaya, Nawada, Jamui and Aurangabad in eastern state of Bihar will be held today. A total of 72 candidates have filed their nomination papers in these 4 parliamentary seats. The last date of withdrawal of candidature is 2nd of April. Polling will be held on 19th of April in these parliamentary constituencies. Congress leader Rajesh Ranjan, also known as Pappu Yadav, on Saturday announced that he will contest from the Bihar's Purnia parliamentary seat. On behalf of India Alliance, RJD has already declared Bima Bharti as its candidate from the seat. While the Indian Army, in a breathtaking display of precision and strength, carried out the Rising Sun BrahMos missile strike over the Andaman and Nicobar Islands on March 29th. Posting images and video on social media platform X, Army's Eastern Command said the BrahMos missile soared high above the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, igniting the skies with its unparalleled might. This showcased Indian Army's capability as a formidable force for peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region. The event serves as a reminder of India's dedication to defending its sovereignty and fostering regional stability. And during the regular security checking in the central India's Indore Pardesipura, the Deputy Commissioner Police of the region seized 7 kilograms of illegal drugs. After brief investigation, the guilty were penalized under the NDPS Act.
चेकिंग के दौरान में उन लोगों को पकड़ा गया, उनसे पूछताछ करी गई। उनके पास में काफ़ी भारी मात्रा में एक जो अवैध मादक पदार्थ है वो मिला है। 7 किलो 695 ग्राम ब्राउन शुगर उनके पास से जब्त करी गई है। इनको पूछताछ करने के लिए हमने हिरासत में लिया। इनसे पूछताछ में इनके बारे में किसी भी चीज़ के बारे में कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं पाया गया, जिसके बाद इनके ऊपर हमने NDPS का मुकदमा पंजीबद्ध किया है।
The National Technology Innovation Hub of Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur has launched Startup Clusters 3, 4 and 5 at New Delhi. The Startup Incubation Program featured 19 startups specializing in specific cyber security areas, including application security, cyber forensics, blockchain technology, UAV security, Internet of Things, security and cyber insurance. The project director at C3I Hub, Professor Manindra Agarwal, said this day marks a significant milestone for C3I Hub.
Today we are adding 19 more startups to our group. The charter of Technology Innovation Hub at IIT Kanpur is to develop and deploy technologies in cyber security and also to promote startups in the same domain. So as part of that charter, we are conducting this program.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. The US revises its rules to make it harder for China to access US artificial intelligence AI chips and chip-making tools. AIFF President constitutes a 5-member committee to hold discussions with India. Head coach Igor Stimac will tell you more. Indo-Aussie pair of Bopanna and Ebden will take on Ivan Dodig and Austin Krajicek in the Miami Open Finals today.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Why is ISIS surging again, and what are its implications? What are the threats that it poses to international security and to India?
ISIS.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. The US government on Friday revised rules aimed at making it harder for China to access US artificial intelligence, AI chips and chip-making tools. The step has been taken as part of an effort to hobble Beijing's chip-making industry over national security concerns. The rules released in October seek to halt shipments to China of more advanced AI chips designed by NVIDIA and others, as Washington cracks down on Beijing over concerns its advancing tech sector could help boost China's military. The new rules, which run 166 pages in length, go into effect on Thursday. It includes restrictions on chip shipments to China, also apply to laptops containing those chips. US government will soon announce a 10% cap on yearly rent increases for certain affordable houses units that are subsidized by the federal government. The step restricts rent increases by property owners if they are part of a tax credit program for low-income housing. The new regulations will be announced on Monday. Egypt received approval on Friday from the International Monetary Fund's Executive Board for an expanded $8 billion financial support program. It also enables the immediate release of $820 million. The IMF agreed to widen the agreement after Egypt's wobbly economy was further hurt by the Gaza crisis. Tourism and shipping are two of Egypt's main sources of foreign exchange. The agreement expanded on an earlier $3 billion 46-month extended funds facility signed in December 2022. It was put on hold after Egypt did not follow through on pledges to unpeg its currency. This would include a continued reduction of subsidies, which consume a large portion of government expenditures. Last week, Egypt raised prices on a wide range of fuel products. The IMF also said Egypt had established a new framework to monitor and control public investment that would help manage excess demand, but the state and military would need to withdraw from economic activity. Alright, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport. And the Kolkata Knight Riders on Friday managed to become the first side to win a game away as they beat the Royal Challengers Bangalore by 7 wickets to make it 2 wins in as many games. KKR chased down a total of 183 with power play heroics by Sunil Narayan, who set the tone with a fine knock of 47 to make his 500th T20 appearance even more special. Meanwhile, Lucknow Super Giants will take on Punjab Kings at the Ikana Cricket Stadium in Lucknow today. India's seasoned player Rohan Bopanna and his Australian teammate Matthew Ebden will take on Croatia's Ivan Dojic and his American partner Austin Krajicek in the Miami Open Finals today. The duo sealed a solid straight sets win over Spain's Marcin Granollers and his Argentine partner Horacio Zeballos by 6-1, 6-4. Earlier, the Indo-Aussie pair beat Australia's Sam Verbeek and his Netherlands partner John Patrick Smith in the quarterfinals. The All India Football Federation President Kalyan Dubey on Friday held a virtual meeting with senior federation members. The meeting was held to discuss the recommendations made by the technical committee after India's recent performance. India has played 2 World Cup qualifiers against Afghanistan in the March FIFA international window. The first match in Saudi Arabia ended in a stalemate, while the second in Guwahati saw India suffer a 1-2 defeat by a team ranked 158th in the world. The technical committee expressed their disappointment over India's performance and recommended that discussions need to be held with head coach Igor Stimac before the next 2 qualifiers. Alright, and that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.